Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Confession. Story 1. I faked going to mental hospital to get away from friends. Around 2 years ago I pretended to go to a mental hospital because I couldn't stand being around my friends. I hated getting their texts, I hated seeing their social medias, I just hated everything about them. This isn't normal for me since I usually love and adore them, but around this time I couldn't stand them, so I texted the friend I was closest with. Told them that I was at a regular hospital being transported soon and to tell the others I won't be back for a couple weeks. It was easy since this was during COVID's peak. I didn't feel bad about it then and I still don't. We aren't friends anymore except for one, and she actually has been to mental hospitals before. For that I kind of feel bad about, but the situation as a whole? I honestly wish I could care. Story 2. I'd whack off in class without knowing what I was doing. To be fair, I was just learning about puberty and entering middle school. My family never gave me the talk, and near the end of elementary school my teacher gave us a 5-minute explanation of sex, which is about all I ever knew. Going into middle school I recall being interested in girls that were in my class and started to get all those hormonal feelings. One day I sat next to 2 of the girls I found attractive, so I was practically sandwiched between them. I think that was my first ever erection. Again, I don't know anything about sex ed and instinct took over. I started to apply pressure from my wrist to my groin, reminder, I had no idea what masturbation was, and continued. I don't think they even noticed, and finally once the deed was finished I freaked myself out. I went to the bathroom and cleaned myself off. I recall being scared and worried I was dying, lol. Regardless, I asked my friends at lunch about what the white stuff was and they pretty much laughed at me. Unfortunately the story continues due to Mijold being hormonal mess, and I kept doing it until some point during the end of middle school someone caught me. Overall, I have a lot of bad memories from then and regret from that time. Even though I wasn't taught about it myself, I knew it felt wrong. This post is not very detailed, so feel free to ask any questions, I guess. Story 3. I chugged the beer bottle and replaced it with water in a hotel. I can't even remember where this was, but happened in a nice hotel, that I can't remember, and they would have different beers and snacks in the fridge of the room. The beers were in dark bottles, so I carefully opened the beers, a few, drank those and put water back in the bottle. Then put the cap back on carefully. Then put them back in the fridge. So if the next person to stay there wanted a beer, they had water. It was a long time ago, and I don't even know if hotels have alcoholic beverages in the rooms anymore. Usually they sell them near the hotel office now. Anyway, sorry. Story 4. I steal sugar from restaurants and I don't know why, and I keep doing it. I don't know why, but when I'm leaving restaurants I like to take the sugar they keep there for coffee. I specially always take the white sugar and I take most of it. I really need to know if it's illegal, and if not, is it a bad thing to do? Story 5. Employer reimbursed me for $100,000 of expenses that the supplier comped. I worked by myself for an organization with a handful of partner directors that treated it like a tiny part-time endeavor for themselves. Part of my incentive for working was to receive a bonus equal to 10% of any increase in net profit in the first year. That year, I increased it from $1 mil to $6 mil through basic common sense and hard work. This meant I was owed a $500,000 bonus, which was very exciting as it was 10 times my salary. They instead saw the bonus coming, and ruined it by adding millions in business expenses and gifts and bonuses that were just personal purchases / payments for each of them. They also claimed my bonus was null and void because I had contracted / hired several people to work under me in that time. I obviously got a ton of revenge and retribution in many legal ways that I'm quite proud of, and practically brought them to their knees and crippled them after I left them. One thing I'm not proud of is that amid their fake expenses for themselves, I also decided to do the same for myself in a different way to make up for my vanishing bonus. A new international supplier that I signed up with for services of about $100,000 a month started billing us a month late. I called to clarify several times over a few days with everyone in charge, but the supplier ended up telling me not to worry about it and it would just be comped. I concocted a plan to create an invoice for the first month, and show it as paid by myself through wire transfer from my own personal brokerage account since the business didn't have one itself. I got reimbursed for the expense for the first month, didn't spend it for many months in case the supplier changed their minds, and continued doing payments the same way every month until I quit. Enough years have passed since then that they can't legally ask for it back, and I don't feel bad at all about it. Story 6. I've been stealing packages for years and I can't stop. I've been stealing packages for almost 3 years. It started off really sporadic, just something I did when the opportunity presented itself. I'd be walking down the street and see a package, and if the surroundings were right I'd make my move. But now it's something I seriously can't stop doing. I spend nearly all of my free time driving or walking around my town and scouting out potential packages to steal. I've never shoplifted, never robbed anyone, never stolen from a friend or family member. There's just something about the thrill of stealing an unmarked package that I seriously can't stop doing. It's like Christmas morning every time I open one. Most of the time it's complete junk to me. I've stolen Tupperware sets, clothes that aren't my style, medications. I feel extreme guilt every time that's happened, but the few major scores I've made are what keep me doing it. I've gotten an iPad, computer parts, and several pairs of AirPods. It's taking a major toll on me because I feel like such a piece of shit for it, but I really can't stop. I'm thinking about going to therapy or something, but I'm afraid of getting in legal trouble. Story 7. I didn't pay for the jeepney fare in the Philippines. Some time ago, I intentionally did not pay the jeepney driver for a variety of reasons. If they stopped in an illegal loading/unloading zone, hence endangering the safety of the public. The stop is too long for waiting for some non-existent passengers. I would have made it to my destination on time if Manong didn't stop for fuel. He should have made sure that he is topped of before starting the trip. If the driver is an asshole like being rude and/or not returning the change of the other passengers. If the jeepney is a smoke belt king death trap clunker. That loud drone on the exhaust made me temporarily deaf that day, and I didn't felt safe that day cause the chassis and the passenger compartment is rusty and crumbling and almost falling apart. I migrated to another country, and I gotta say that the public transportation buses here is worth paying the fare. Cause it is safer, well-maintained, more comfortable, more reliable than the junk jeepneys in the Philippines that I didn't pay the fare. Story 8. I plagiarized my entire dissertation and I got caught. It just felt too big, too nebulous. I had no idea where to start. I kept putting it off and putting it off again, with no idea of what to do. I could have asked for help, but I didn't. How pathetic, I thought. Every other student can manage to write one, but you need help. Just fucking put your head down and do it. But I didn't. With 24 hours to go, I had nothing. So I found a dissertation on Google, and I went through and changed it enough that I thought I could get away with it. I didn't. I have a hearing in a few days, and I can't see any likely outcome other than being kicked out with no degree. I haven't told anybody, besides a nice woman on the phone from Samaritans, because I didn't know who else to call. She didn't seem to know what to say though, and I can't blame her. What is there to say? You fucking idiot! How did you not ask anyone for help at any stage? Why are you the only person who can't fucking write their own dissertation? I'm so ashamed. So ashamed. I can't tell my friends. Students have fun at university, but I feel as though there is an unspoken contract that everyone can do so because they are all working hard. I have broken my contract, and I cannot admit it. This shame pales in comparison to the shame I feel regarding my parents. I am dreading telling them more than anything. They have been nothing but supportive my entire life. They are wonderful people. They have given me so much help, sacrificed so much for me to get a good education, and I have spat in their faces. I am ashamed to be their son. Story 9. I broke into an empty apartment at 12YR and played strip poker. I used to live in an apartment complex when I was 12YEARS old. I had about 5 friends within the complex that I ran around with. There was an empty apartment in my building and we figured what better than to get into no good fun? There was 3 girls including myself and a boy who decided it was a good idea to break into the empty apartment. It whose idea it was or who brought the cards, but next thing you know we decided to play strip poker. Funny thing about this is that I don't think any of us really knew how to play poker, haha. One by one clothes started to come off. At this point I'm starting to get nervous because I don't want to be naked. Once it got to the point that we actually had to take off our shirt or underwear, we all chickened out. Thank goodness it was a general consensus to pack up the party and dip so none of us had to bear the shame of being naked. However, that wasn't the last empty apartment we broke into. Story 10. I sold weed to a minor and then stole it back from them. Title makes it sound bad, well, worse, but we were both 13M at the time. I went to a very good public school, but was on the very low end of the financial spread for the district, reduced price lunches, work-study program, etc. My friend group of about 8 were all from wealthy families and we didn't give a shit about each other's finances, we just were friends. It is also worth highlighting that my school had a pretty severe drug issue since so many kids would just sell their Adderall to one another, but I was pretty well known as a go-to for some pot. One day a really obnoxious, super wealthy kid from the grade above me wanted to buy weed from my friend at the lunch table, but got directed over to me. This is all fine, but when we were talking the kid made a joke about maybe you will be able to buy some pants without holes since you clearly need my money, which would have been funny from a friend, but shitty from a random person. So I ripped this fucker off really bad. Like, a gram of weed for $80 when it only cost like $10 for anybody else. But this dude is either too stupid or too rich to care, so he agrees. This kind of pissed me off, since I wanted him to at least react to me being a dick on purpose, but I decided I would rather just take his cash and make fun of him later outside of earshot. But karma, or the devil, was on my side, because when he came over to the park to buy it after school, I watched it fall out of his pocket as he was messing around. I immediately put my foot on it and pretended to tie my shoe, but snuck it back in my pocket. The best part was he finally realized like 10 minutes later, and started freaking out trying to make everyone around look for his lost drugs, and not a single person helped. Teenagers would rather laugh at you suffer than help out, who knew? I smoked it with my friends after he left, and to this day that was the most satisfying $80 I have ever made. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.